realized that to get to any given bike, you just move these carriages, and it's a simple push-button system. They work off of electric motors, and they roll on these rails in the floor. So this building was designed to be an archival storage facility, so it's nice to be able to just build the rails right in. So we can get a forklift in and out. Every bike is soft ties and ratchet straps to the same pallets. These are the same pallets the bikes ship on. So some of you might recognize, and I don't know if any of you work in a dealership. Yep. And we came to find out the deal is it's a company called Steel Pack. Harley pays like $10 a pallet. So it was a nice solution, and then their forklift is on and off. Nitrogen in the tires. Some of you might know that nitrogen molecules escape more slowly than air molecules, like they do in auto racing. Yep, not temperature, non-combustible. The thing, this is a good opportunity to point to like this example of the 1935 VL. In this museum today, you will not see a larger collection anywhere after today outside this place of unrestored Harley-Davidson motorcycles. The founders started the practice, we believe, about 1915. We know that they were definitely doing it by 1919. Taking an example of a brand new bike, in the early stages of the company, for the first few years, they only made one model. And then a few years after that, they're making, offering 3 bikes or 5 bikes or 7 bikes. But this bike's got the original paint, the original plating, the original tires, the original seat. And going farther back, you're going to see some reproduction tires and seats because, like I said, the leather and rubber kind of turns to powder over time. But they started that practice. Had they not done that, this museum would not be possible. The other fascinating thing is we don't know exactly why they were doing it. A theory that I've had, based on what our restorers have told us over the years, is that it was not for display purposes. It was for very real need, like new part fitment. Because if you come out with a new luggage rack, for example, and you want to know how far back it goes, right? Because obviously you want that luggage rack, you're going to make it to fit the new model year. But if you play your cards right, you can get it to fit bikes before that. And you see that now in the catalogs. It'll fit a 94 Road King all the way up to 2000 or whatever. I think that's probably the main reason they saved these bikes. But so the bikes were messed with a little bit, but they were never restored. And the thing is that a lot of vehicle museums restore everything in their collection, whether it needs it or not. We would never do that. Originality is a big deal. Because these bikes are shot for company products, calendars, and T-shirts and coffee mugs and all that kind of stuff. If that's not the right air cleaner cover, we will hear about it. Because there's a lot of people out there who know their stuff, and they'll send us the emails and say, don't you guys know your 35 VLs or whatever the case may be. But other stuff in this room, and an example that's saved. Like that is a 2007 50th anniversary Sportster. So we're carrying forward that same practice that the founders started. Some of you might have been noticing, as I've been talking, this bike. And if anybody is like if you've been with Harley a long time, if you've been riding a long time, or if you're really up on the history, you've probably been standing there the whole time saying, what is that? And the reason for that would be, that's a prototype. That's a bike that never made it to the showroom floor. There's a lot of bikes in the collection like that. Like one thing you're going to see on your self-guided tour on the downstairs of the museum today is a Nova, which was the V4 water-cooled.
Yeah, so when we were here.
Yep, exactly. So in the late 70s and early 80s, they got the idea that the next big thing for Harley was going to be mainly water-cooled bikes in a V4 platform. They were also going to make V6s. And that project was killed before it went to market. And some people who are still with the company today who were back then say that bike may have very well killed Harley-Davidson, because the one key thing about the Nova project is they didn't take a step back and ask Harley riders, is this what you want? And that's the way the motorcycle market works. It's not like a lot of other products where you can just crank out a gajillion of something and it'll sell, or because people will need it. With motorcyclists, you got to stop and ask them what they want. As you guys know, no two motorcyclists necessarily want the same thing. That was probably the case with this bike too. It was an overhead cam 1100cc, set up, I believe, to compete with mainly a Kawasaki product, but definitely a response to what was coming out of Japan.
Is that one behind it the same thing? Or close to it?
No, that's the one behind that is a 70s Sprint.
Oh.
That's a single cylinder. And some of you might know about the 60s and 70s Italian. Yeah.
We've got a friend that's got a 350 Sprint.
Yeah, 350. The Sprint was a single cylinder, part of the Ermacchi, the Italian lightweights, as some people call them, 60s and 70s. We've got a lot of those 70s bikes. That's another one of the unfortunate sides of the 70s era is AMF got it in their head that Harley could somehow make just these gigantic inroads into the single market and also like the motocross type market. That it just never kind of took for Harley. But AMF just kept hitting that button over and over, and after a while they're foisting these bikes on the dealers, and the dealers are selling them at cost just to get them out the door. And what the company was doing was, some of the old-time dealers are still bitter about it, because the company would say, well, if you want an electric glide, you got to take 3 lightweights, or if you want a Sportster, you got to take 2 lightweights or something. And the dealers, these things are starting to pile up.
Our dealer at Springfield Halls he's been in business, what, 40, 45 years now?
Yeah.
So,
47?
Yeah.
He will know.
yes. He was shit 55.
But the thing is about those dealers is that the guys who've been with us that long, like Del Hoffer in Fargo, North Dakota, is going to celebrate his 50th anniversary this year. That blows me away. And he's more enthusiastic and loyal now than he's probably ever been. And he's like, I've seen it all, and I've been through it all, and he's seen more receptions.
Hello?
So there's other stuff here that we've been collecting. One kind of sad note was over the last few weeks we've had to collect the final stuff that came out of Buell. But we're glad to have that opportunity to preserve their history, because up on this shelf, they built this, and there's a Harley version that we obviously can't have because they still use it. This is what they call an ergonomic buck. And what you do is you come up with any conceivable combination of ergonomic riding positions. Whether it's height of handlebars, width of the grips, height of the seat, positioning of the foot pegs, you name it. You can see how all of that's built into that. That kind of versatility. So there's one up at the PDC, and they do that for Harley. So whether it's a complete bike they're working on, or maybe just a seat setup, or on a new bike they're going to come out with a foot positioning, a different foot positioning, foot control positioning.
Okay, something's called Rapido,
Yeah.
125.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are a lot of singles in the 60s. In the early 70s too, and the Rapido was more of a unique. Yeah.
Did Sears and Roebuck sell at one time? Did Sears and Roebuck sell motorcycles better?
Sears did, but not. I thought you meant did they sell Harleys?
No.
Sears did.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other part of the tour is we're going to talk about why is it so amazing that Harley's here now will be 107 years this year. Harley's survived 150 different U.S. competitors long, come and gone. And we will probably end with me on this tour in the serial number 1 gallery in the earliest days of the company. And in those days, there were a whole lot of motorcycle companies. At one time, there was 3 motorcycle companies just in southeastern Wisconsin alone. The other 2 were Mitchell and Burkle.
Before we leave the spot, you guys want to get right here underneath that?